Stand in the middle of your front room tonight after the sun has gone down and the cold has settled in for good. Hold your hand out low down near the floor by the front door and just leave it there a while. If you feel a thin, cold breath of air moving slow and steady across the back of your hand, a draft so faint you could almost tell yourself you imagined it, then I want you to understand what you are really feeling. That is not just a little chill. That is the warmth you paid good money to make, walking right out of your house and cold air marching in to take its place. And it is happening all night, every night, all winter long, in a dozen places you cannot see. Now, folks add up all the little gaps and cracks in an ordinary house, all the spots around the doors and the windows and the pipes and the wires. And if you gathered them all together into one whole, in a great many homes, it comes to something like leaving a good-sized window wide open all winter. A window you never open on purpose, that you would never dream of leaving open in January, but there it is, spread out into 100 small leaks so you never notice it. You are heating the outdoors a little at a time from 100 places at once. My name is Yoder. I am Amish. I farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. This old farmhouse behind me has stood through more winters than any man alive can count, and it was built long before there was a furnace or a thermostat or a power line running to the door. We heat with wood, and we have always known a plain truth that most folks have forgotten. It is not the cold that makes a house hard to keep warm. It is the moving air. And you can stop most of that moving air in every room of your house for about $10 and an afternoon of careful work. Not new windows, not a contractor, not a loan. $10 of simple materials off a low shelf and your own two hands. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to hunt down every draft in your house the way I would walk you around it myself. What to seal in what order so you fix the worst ones first. What to buy, and it is cheap and plain. And I am going to be honest with you the whole way through, the way I always am, including the one real safety matter you must respect, because a house sealed up careless with a fire burning in it is not a safe house, and I will not skip that part. Stay with me. Let me start by telling you why the draft even happens, because once you understand it, the whole rest of this makes plain sense and you will know where to look before you even pick up a tool. Warm air rises. You know this already. Stand at the top of a stairway and it is warmer up there than down in the cellar. That is just the nature of it. Warm air is lighter and it floats up and gathers high up against your ceilings, up in your attic. Cold air is heavier and it sinks and pools down low on the floor. Now here is the part that matters. All that warm air gathered up high in your house is pushing to get out. It presses against the ceiling, against the top of the walls, against the attic hatch, looking for any little crack to escape through, and it finds them and it leaks up and out through the top of your house all day and all night. The old timers had a name for this. They call it the stack effect, like the draft up a chimney. Your whole house acts like a chimney in winter. Warm air rushes out the top. And here's the thing most folks never think about. Every bit of warm air that leaks out the top has to be replaced. The house cannot hold a vacuum. So for every puff of warm air that escapes up high, a puff of cold air gets sucked in down low, in through the gaps around your doors, up through the floor, in around the bottom of your windows to take its place. That is the cold draft you feel on your ankles. It is not just leaking in on its own. It is being pulled in because the warm air up top is being pushed out. The leak up high and the draft down low are two ends of the very same problem. So when I tell you to seal your drafts, understand I am not just talking about the cold you feel at the door. I am talking about stopping that whole slow current of air that runs through your house like water through a leaky bucket. Warm out the top, cold in the bottom, hour after hour, and your stove or your furnace running the whole time just to keep up. Stop the air moving, and you have done more for the warmth of your house than any amount of extra heat you could throw at it. The cold itself is not your enemy. The moving air is your enemy. Remember that, and you already understand more than most. Now let me show you how to find the drafts, because you cannot fix what you cannot find, and a great many of these leaks you will never feel with your hand until you go looking on purpose. Pick a cold day, and better still a windy one, because the wind pushes the air through the gaps harder and makes every leak easier to find. Then you go hunting. The oldest way, and still one of the best, is a small flame. Light a candle, or better, a stick of incense that makes a thin ribbon of smoke, because the smoke shows you the air moving where a flame only flickers. Hold it up close, an inch or two away, and move it slow all around the edge of a window, all around a door, along the baseboard, around an electrical outlet on an outside wall. Where the smoke gets pulled sideways or the flame leans and dances, there is your draft. The air is moving there. Mark that spot in your mind or with a bit of chalk and move on. Go slow. Go around every window and every door in the house this way, and you will be surprised and maybe a little troubled at how many places that smoke jumps. There is another old test for doors and windows that needs nothing but a dollar bill or any slip of paper. Open the door, lay the bill across the frame, and close the door on it. Now try to pull it out. If it slides out easy with no drag at all, that gap is loose and the air is pouring through it. If it drags, if you have to tug, then that spot is sealing tight. Do that all around the door, top, both sides, and you will feel exactly where it is loose and where it is snug. Same with a window that closes onto a sill. And the plainest test of all is just your own bare hand on a cold day. Run slow and close along every edge, feeling for that cool breath. Your hand is a better tool than most folks give it credit for. Now let me give you the list of where these leaks hide, roughly in the order of worst to least, so you spend your first and best effort where it pays. The doors that lead outside are usually near the top, especially along the bottom where you can often see daylight under them, and down the sides and across the top where the weather stripping has worn away or was never there. Windows are next, both the old ones that rattle and the newer ones too, where the two sashes meet in the middle and where the frame meets the wall. Then, and this one surprises people every time, the electrical outlets and light switches on your outside walls. Take a cover plate off one on a windy day and hold your hand there. You will feel cold air pushing right out of the wall through that box. Then the attic hatch or the pull-down stair, which is a great open mouth up high where all that warm air escapes. Then down in the cellar, the rim joist, that band of wood up at the top of the foundation wall where the house sits down onto its base, full of gaps. Then everywhere a pipe or a wire or a cable comes through a wall, under the kitchen sink, behind the washing machine where the dryer vents out, the water line, all of them with a gap around them, and the little forgotten ones, the mail slot, the old chimney with its damper left open, the cat door, the gap where the baseboard meets the floor. That is the whole battlefield. Now let me arm you. Here is your kit, and I want you to see how little it costs. A single tube of caulk, the paintable acrylic latex kind that you squeeze from a gun, runs you $3 to $5 and will seal a great many gaps. A packet of rope caulk, sometimes sold as more tight, a soft gray rope you press in with your thumb and peel off again in spring, is about $3. A roll of foam weather stripping, the sticky-backed foam tape, is around $4 for a good length. And a plastic film window kit, the shrink film you put over a window and warm with a hairdryer, is a few dollars a window. You will not even need all of it on the first go. A tube of caulk, a roll of foam, and a packet of rope caulk that right there is under $10, and it will seal the worst of what most houses have. The rest you add as you find you need it. Everything on that low shelf at the hardware store, no special tool, but a caulk gun you can buy for a couple of dollars or borrow from a neighbor. Let me walk you through sealing each spot, plain and in order. Start with the outside doors, because they are the ones you feel most, and they are quick. Down the two sides and across the top, where the door closes against the frame, that is where your foam weather stripping goes. Clean the surface first with a dry rag so it will stick, then peel the backing and press the foam tape onto the frame right where the door presses against it when it shuts, so the door squeezes that foam tight and closes the gap. do the two sides and the top. Then the bottom, which is the worst part of most doors, gets a door sweep, a strip with a bit of rubber or brush on it that screws or sticks onto the bottom of the door and drags along the threshold to close that gap where you can see the daylight. If you do not want to buy a sweep, the old answer works fine. You roll up a towel or sew a long tube of cloth and fill it with sand or rice, a draft snake, and you lay it against the bottom of the door. My grandmother had one for every door in the house, and they cost her nothing but scraps. It does not screw on, so you nudge it back each time you come through, but it stops the cold. Now the windows, and here's where you can do the most good for the least money. If it is a window that slides up and down, the biggest leaks are usually where the two sashes overlap in the middle and along the bottom where it meets the sill. For those, rope caulk is a wonderful thing because it is soft. You just press it into the gap with your thumb like clay. It seals tight, and come spring, you peel it right off with no harm done, and the window opens again. So for any window, you do not need to open all winter, and most of us have several. You go around every edge with rope caulk and press it into every crack. Then for a window that is still cold, or an old single pane that chills the whole room, the plastic shrink film is the trick. You stick the double-sided tape around the frame, stretch the film over it, and run a hairdryer across it, and it pulls tight and clear as glass. That still pocket of air it traps between the film and the window does a surprising amount, near as much as a second pane for a couple of dollars. It looks near invisible when it is done right, and it comes off in spring. And the outside of the window matters too. On a mild day, go around the outside where the window trim meets the siding of the house and where the frame meets the wall, and run a bead of caulk into any gap or crack you find there with the caulk gun. Cut the tip of the tube small, lay a steady thin bead, and smooth it with a wet finger. That is sealing the leak from the weather side, and it lasts for years. Just be sure you do not caulk over the little weep holes at the very bottom of a window frame if it has them, because those are meant to let rainwater drain out, and you leave those open. Now the outlets and switches, the hidden ones. For a couple of dollars, you can buy a packet of foam gaskets cut to fit behind a cover plate. You shut off the power at the box to be safe, take off the cover plate with a screwdriver, slip the foam gasket over the outlet, and screw the plate back on. That foam seals the cold air that is coming out of the wall cavity through that box. It is a small thing on each one, but you may have a dozen or two on your outside walls, and together they add up to real comfort. Do the ones on the outside walls first, the walls that face the weather. The ones on inside walls between two rooms do not matter for this. Up at the attic hatch, that great warm air escape up high, you weather strip around the edge of the hatch just like a door, so it presses down snug. And if it is a simple board, you can glue a piece of rigid foam board on top of it for good measure. Down in the cellar along that rim joist where the house meets the foundation, you press rope caulk or a bit of foam into the gaps, or for bigger holes there, a can of spray foam does well. And I will say a careful word about that foam in a moment. In every place a pipe or wire comes through a wall, under the sink, behind the machines, where the cable comes in, you seal that gap. A small gap, a dab of caulk. A bigger gap, stuff it first with a bit of steel wool or backer rod, and then caulk over it, because caulk alone will not bridge a wide hole, and the steel wool keeps the mice out besides. Now let me tell you the common mistakes, because I would rather you not make them. The first and biggest is sealing the wrong things first. Folks fuss for an hour over a tiny crack they can see by the front door, while the attic hatch stands wide open up above, leaking 10 times as much. Follow the hunt. Fix the biggest movers of air first, the doors, the attic, the big penetrations, before you worry over the little cracks. The second mistake is reaching for the expanding spray foam for everything. That foam has its place in a big gap in the cellar, around a pipe, in an unfinished space. But it is messy. It swells more than you expect. It sticks to everything, including your hands and your clothes, and it does not belong squirted around your nice window trim where rope caulk or a neat bead of paintable caulk would look far better. Use foam only for the big, rough, hidden gaps, and use it sparing. A little swells to a lot. The third mistake is caulking a window shut that you're going to want to open. Think before you seal. Use the peelable rope caulk on windows you might open and save the permanent caulk for the outside and for gaps that never move. And the fourth mistake is forgetting that the biggest holes are usually the ones you cannot see, up in the attic and down in the cellar, and spending all your effort in the middle of the house where the leaks are smallest. Go high and go low. That is where the stack effect does its worst. Now I owe you the honest part, and this one matters more than any tip in the whole video, so listen close. You can seal a house too tight. A house needs some fresh air. People and cooking and washing and just breathing put moisture into the air of a home. And if you seal every last crack airtight, that moisture has nowhere to go, and it collects and beads up cold on your windows and in the corners, and where damp sits, mold grows. So draft proofing is for stopping the drafts you can feel, the wasteful moving air, not for turning your house into a sealed jar. On a mild day, crack a window for a while and let the house breathe. Run the fan in the bathroom when you bathe and over the stove when you cook to carry the damp out. Take the moisture out at the source and you can seal the drafts without trouble. And here is the safety word I will not skip because it can save a life. If you heat or cook with any kind of fire, a gas furnace, a gas or propane water heater, a wood stove, a kerosene heater, a gas range, then that fire needs air to burn, and it needs its smoke and its fumes to go up the chimney or the vent and out of the house. A fire pulls air in to feed itself, and if you seal the house up too tight, the fire can start to pull its own smoke and its own fumes back down the chimney into the room instead of sending them up and out. They call that backdrafting, and the danger in it is carbon monoxide, a gas you cannot see or smell that can kill you in your sleep. So 2 plain rules. First, do not seal a house airtight around a burning appliance. Leave it able to breathe. And second, and this is for everyone, whether you seal your house or not, put a carbon monoxide alarm in your home, a good one, and keep a fresh battery in it. They cost little, and they are cheap insurance against the one danger in this whole business. Do the draft proofing sensible, keep some fresh air, mind your fires, and you are safe. I will not show you a thing without the warning that goes with it. Let me also tell you the difference between 2 things folks mix up: air sealing and insulation, because they are not the same job, and knowing which is which will save you money. Air sealing is what I have shown you today, stopping the moving air, the drafts, the leaks. Insulation is the fluffy stuff in your walls and attic that slows the heat from passing through even where there is no draft. Both matter, but here is the thing. Air sealing is far cheaper, and it gives you the most comfort for the fewest dollars, and you always do it first because there's no sense stuffing a wall full of insulation while the wind blows straight through the gaps around it. $10 of sealing will do more for how warm your house feels than $100 of anything else. Start with the air. Always start with the air. Now I want to take a moment because this is the part that matters, and it is bigger than a tube of caulk. Think about what you are told to do when your house is cold and drafty. You're told to buy new windows, and a man will come to your door, a pleasant enough fellow, and he will tell you your old windows are the trouble. And he will quote you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, sometimes more, to tear them all out and put new ones in. And maybe someday, if a window is truly rotted through, that is worth doing. But I will tell you the plain truth. For the comfort of your house this winter, $10 of rope caulk and foam and plastic film put on careful by your own hand will do the great bulk of what those new windows would do. Not all of it, but most of the comfort for 1,000th of the price. And here is the quiet reason you were never taught this. There is no money in it for anyone. There is no salesman who earns a commission on a $3 tube of caulk. No company can build an advertising budget around a packet of rope caulk you press in with your thumb. The window company wants to sell you windows. The power company is glad to sell you the extra heat you burn to make up for the drafts, month after month on a bill that never ends. Every one of them profits when your house leaks and you pay to make up the difference. Nobody at all profits by teaching you to walk around with a candle and seal the gaps yourself for the price of a sandwich, so nobody teaches it. And a whole nation of people sit in drafty houses paying too much to heat them, believing the only answer is thousands of dollars they do not have, when the real answer has been on the low shelf at the hardware store the whole time. My people never forgot this because we never had a furnace to hide the problem or a big bill we just paid without thinking. When your warmth comes from wood, you cut and split yourself. You learn quick to stop it leaking out the walls because every draft is more wood you have to carry. So we banked the houses and stuffed the cracks and hung heavy curtains and knew every leak in every room. A family that can keep its own house warm with $10 in its own hands is a family that is not at anyone's mercy when the cold comes and the prices climb. That is the whole of it. So here is what I want you to do this week before the real cold sets in. Pick the next windy, cold day, light a stick of incense or a candle, and walk your whole house slow. Every window, every door, every outlet on an outside wall, and find where the smoke jumps. Then make one trip to the hardware store low shelf and pick up a roll of foam weather stripping, a tube of caulk, and a packet of rope caulk under $10. Come home and seal the worst three first: the doors, the biggest windows, the attic hatch. Press the rope caulk into the window cracks with your thumb, run the foam onto the door frames, lay a snake at the bottom of the draftiest door, and that same evening stand in that front room again and hold your hand down low by the door and feel the difference. It will be there. It will be plain. Tell me in the comments below which room in your house is the coldest and draftiest, the one you have been avoiding all winter. And tell me, do you have old rattly single pane windows or the newer double kind? Because the fix is a little different for each, and I want to point you right. And if your grandmother or your grandfather had an old trick for keeping the cold out, a draft snake, a heavy quilt over the door, a way they banked the house, I want to hear it, because those old ways are the very thing I'm trying to keep alive on this channel. I read every single one, and the things you all share teach the new folks more than I ever could. Next time, since we have shut the cold out of the walls, I'm going to show you the old way my people kept a single room warm through the hardest nights on the least wood, the heavy curtains, the way we close off the rooms we are not using, the small habits that let one stove heat a whole family through a Pennsylvania January. It is the natural next step after today. Until then, hunt your drafts, seal them with your own hands, keep some fresh air and mind your fires. And remember, the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.